Hello fragrance family, welcome to Fragrance Therapy. I'm your host Tom. Now look, in this world of clone fragrances, you're bound to be disappointed by some. Especially considering the fact that majority of them you have to blind buy. Not all of them are going to be hits. And that's not just from smaller brands. I'm talking about from heavy hitter brands like French Avenue and Lattafa also. So today I'm going to go over my 10 most disappointing clone fragrance blind buys of the year. Now look, if you like any of these, I'm super happy for you. They just didn't work for me personally. So with all that said, let's jump in. At my number 10 spot, we have Khadlaj and Musk. And honestly, when I first got this thing, first of all, the box was like falling apart. This sticker was coming off. And I got it from a totally reputable online seller. In fact, I think they're one of the primary sources that I get my Khadlaj fragrances from. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. It comes down to the juice. Because what I was hearing online from a lot of other content creators, that this is a super close clone of Initio's Musk Therapy. When I heard that, people were like, oh, it's amazing, Musk Therapy clone, I ordered it right away. This is definitely not that. Sure, there's similarities. I mean, they both heavily feature musk, but even in my original review, I said at most, I'm getting about 75, maybe 80% close. And now as time has gone on, and I've read what other people are saying, commenters are saying that this is actually a clone of PDM's Valaya, I believe it's called. Honestly, I don't know how close this gets to that because I've never gotten my nose on it. But at this point, if it smells anything like this, I really don't care. Because honestly, this thing is marketed as unisex fragrance, but it's totally not a unisex fragrance. To me, it is strongly, strongly feminine. It has a fresh, fruity opening with that powdery style of musk. This one is not outright bad. I don't think it's a terrible fragrance. For me, it just ended up not being what I wanted and was a big disappointment. If you're actually looking for an alternative to Musk Therapy, Game of Spades has one called Topaz, this one right here. This gets much closer to Musk Therapy. Though it's a little bit pricier than this, if you're looking for that scent profile, it's worth it. At my number 9 spot, this might surprise some people, but it's actually Lattafa's Fakar Platine. And this is a twist on YSL Elixir. Another one that is not outright horrible, but definitely one that was disappointing. Now, I do like all the other Fakar fragrances, the black and gold ones. Those are all really good clones, and especially the black one is a clone of YSL EDP and does it really, really well on a budget. And I'm also a pretty big fan of YSL Elixir. So when I heard that this is a clone of that, I picked it up right away. And initially, I tried to convince myself that I liked it. But as time went on, I realized that something about it was just off for me. As I analyzed it, I realized it was that twist that they added, which in this one, this is YSL Elixir with a Guava twist. And ultimately, that twist does not work for me, and really, it just ruins the overall fragrance for me. And I'm not anti-twist at all. I'm not looking for one-to-ones. Actually, a lot of times I prefer it when they add their own little unique twist. But for this one, the Guava just didn't work for me. And that's not surprising because Guava can go one of two ways for me. Half the time, it gives it this like sweet creaminess to it, and half the time it gives me like cat pee vibes. Now this doesn't get quite to the level of that unpleasantness like cat pee. Maybe not as outright bad as some of the other ones on the list, but definitely maybe one of my most disappointing pickups of the year. At my number 8 spot, you're gonna get a 2-for-1. The first one is Bahia Ruby from Arabiat, and the next one is Forbidden Fruit by Aromatics. And that's because these are both cloning Sangria by Lorenzo Pizzaglia. I would say this is more of a one-to-one take. This is more of a twist, but really they share too much of the scent profile for me to like either of them. The biggest problem that I have with both of these is that they both come off overly synthetic and cloyingly sweet. On paper, I thought I was going to like these. I actually got this one first. And if I had known before I blind bought this one that this is similar to this, I would never picked it up. Well, maybe I would have just to complete the set. Nevertheless, I would have been more prepared to not like it. Now, I did get my nose on the OG this year because Lorenzo Pizzaglia did have a booth at Scent Expo New York. And this definitely does capture some of that boozy, fruity vibe of the original. But even that OG comes off like overly cloyingly sweet and synthetic to me. So it just means that I'm not a fan of the scent profile overall. It's loud, it's screechy, and after a bit of time, it just makes me nauseous. So I just need to know that this is a DNA I need to avoid going forward. Look, if you like this type of fragrance, more power to you. It just does not work for me. At my number 7 spot, we have Fragrance World's Notes Classic. And I picked this one up due to my love for Notes Jazz. And this thing is a banger clone of Goldfield and Banks Silky Woods. But man, these two don't even come close. This thing leaves this thing in the dust. Now this one was kind of bound to fail because when I looked at the notes, even before I picked it up, I saw a cherry note. And a lot of times when a cherry is that cough syrupy type sweet cherry, it just doesn't work for me. And that's the case in here as well. It's the cherry note that really throws the entire fragrance off. I actually don't know what this is cloning. I'm never going to wear this. I don't really care to find out. This also features leather. That's the surprising thing. That's why I gave it a shot, because I typically love leather fragrances. I even like combo of leather and other fruits. Raspberry and leather in Azzarello's Forever Wanted Elixir. Perfect example, is one of my top 10 designer releases of the year. And on top of all of that, the performance is horrible. That might not be a bad thing, because do you really want this fragrance to last on your skin? I don't, at least. At my number 6 spot might be another one that might surprise some of y'all, and that is Rayhan's Tiger Calclones edition. And this one is inspired by Penhaligon's Halfeti, and I don't know what people see in this fragrance or the OG. I know some people love it, but for me, this actually comes off like freaking, it's called Tiger, it comes off like Tiger Balm. There's a very medicinal quality to it that I just don't know why people would want on them as a fragrance. And I had never smelled the OG, so I was like, is it just me? Is it just this version? Or is it just the scent profile overall? So I did go and gut my nose on the original Penhaligon's, and the truth is, I just don't like the scent profile. I think it's that intense clove and nutmeg punch that you get in the face in the beginning that comes off like muscle rub to me. Now, if you are a fan of that Halfeti scent profile and looking for something on a budget, this is a great take because they do get really close together. And this thing is a beast mode performer as well. I guess it's just a scent profile that's not for me. At my number 5 spot, we have French Avenue's Vulcan Sable. And this is inspired by Sandans by Stefan Humbert Lucas. Now, boy, I was excited for this one because Vulcan Few is one of my favorite clone releases of the entire year last year. And this, of course, was a blind buy as well. This was cloning another Stefan Humbert Lucas fragrance. I was like, this one has to be another banger. Now, I've never gotten my nose on the OG. Not sure how close it gets. Because to me, this is a mix of heavy boozes and chocolate. There are other notes. You get spices, resins, woods, and there's also apparently some citruses in here. But me personally, I just can't get past that booziness and that heavy chocolate note. This is another one that just gives me a headache. Now, this is the only one in the Vulcan line that I outright dislike. All the other three go from good, but maybe not for me, all the way to amazing, some of the best clone fragrances I've smelled this year. At my number 4 spot, we have Rasasi's Hawass Viper, and this is inspired by Nasimo's Black Afghano. Now, everybody loves the Hawass line because they're full of fragrances that are mass appealing, crowd-pleasing, that perform incredibly well. So why the heck did Rasasi decide to put Black Afghano in a Hawass bottle? This thing is just overly dark, overly smoky, strong spices with this pretty unpleasant cannabis note. And I'm not anti-cannabis, I know a lot of people are. For me, if it's done classily, done subtly, it can work in a fragrance. But this thing just comes off entirely too strong, too harsh. If you're a fan of the Hawass line, you were expecting another compliment-getting type fragrance, you're gonna hate this. I definitely think there's some craftsmanship here. It's interesting, it's complex, but it should not have been part of this line. And it's one I can just never see myself wearing because it's just a little bit too out there, at least for me. At my number 3 spot, we have French Avenue's Royal Blend Bourbon. Now, this was a bit surprising for me because I like every other release in this line. All of them fall somewhere between like really good to amazing, except for this one. On paper, I thought this was going to be a surefire hit. You take that Killing Angel Share DNA, you add some smoky, woody oak barrel aged notes in here. But for me, this thing just doesn't work because instead of like deep, dark woods to add some character to that Killing Angel Share base, all I get is like chocolate. Maybe it's just a combo of the woods, the cinnamon, and those resins that are in here. When you mix it all together, I get booze and chocolate. There's also a slight peppermint note, another one that just induces nausea in me. This thing is honestly like the worst fragrance in the entire Royal Blend line, and it might also be the worst twist on Angel Share DNA that I have in my collection. At my number 2 spot, we have Riff's Freeze. And some say this is an original creation, some say this is inspired by Roja Parfums Oceania. I say who gives a crap. Because Riff's Freeze tries to capture that cool icy feel, but instead it just comes off like a lemon-scented floor cleaner, or especially to me, like pain relief cream, like something like Icy Hot. And I was so excited for this fragrance because I like those kind of really fresh aldehydic fragrances. And on top of that, every single influencer that was at Beauty World Dubai this year was glazing the hell out of it. I was really hoping for something that gives off that cool, refreshing feel. Instead, I get this sharp, synthetic mess that comes off very medicinal and metallic, especially in the dry down. And my number 1 worst blind buy pickup of the year, by far, was French Avenue's Opus Magnum. And this is, of course, a clone of Homage's Opus Royal Tobacco. And man, one of my favorite clone houses is French Avenue. When I did my top 30 list, they had by far the most entries in my top 30 clone releases of 2025. And I'm also a big fan of a lot of the Homage fragrances. So I blind bought this thing, like Homage and French Avenue is going to be a banger. But man, this thing was a mistake. I couldn't believe this is a perfume that people actually wear. It's so freaking harsh. It's so strong. It comes off like an incense bomb. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of incense fragrances, but I'm also not like completely anti-incense either. I like it when it's used in a subtle, classy way. Take, for example, Incense 01. That made my top 30 list. Fantastic release by Swiss Arabian. But I don't know what this thing is and I don't know who it's for. In fact, a funny thing happened just the other day. A friend came over. I was like, hey, he's kind of getting into fragrances as well. I was like, hey, what do you think about this fragrance? And honestly, he thought this was like a prank perfume. And I think it's even hard for people who are willing to give really out there fragrances a try. Hey, but if you're all about performance, this thing will last you damn near all day. It's just too bad that it's in a fragrance that I can't wear. Maybe my nose is not developed enough to appreciate fragrances like this. If you are, and you like this type of stuff, more power to you. But at the end of the day, I don't think my nose will ever develop to like something like this. Definitely by far the worst blind buy of the year. Magnum Opus. Or Opus Magnum. Who cares? So there you have it, folks. My 10 most disappointing blind buy releases of 2025. And I'm honestly really interested in finding out if any of you actually like any of these fragrances. Put it in the comments below. And here's hoping to less like totally terrible blind buys in 2026. But you know they're always bound to happen. And also please hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep bringing you affordable fragrance content just like this. And as always, stay tuned for more honest, affordable fragrance content. Until next time, I am out.